I want to tell you about an email that I got from someone recently and offer some solutions to the problem that she wrote me about. So I got an email from someone about being frustrated that they are spending all their time on client work and not getting paid enough. And I think when you hear that, you might think to yourself, we've all been there. I've been there. I felt that way, where I was working really hard, felt like I didn't have any more capacity, and yet not getting paid enough, or not getting paid what I want, need, or really feel like I deserve to be paid. And so I want to talk with you today about how you can take that frustration and turn it into something that is productive and good and gets you to the place you want to be in your freelance writing career. So the first thing I want to talk about is how can you use these feelings of frustration and just burnout to take tangible action and move forward to get to the place that you want to be. And I think the most important thing to remember here is that these feelings and this frustration is just your body and your mind telling you something, and you need to listen to it. Our bodies and our minds are very smart. It's not a random thing that you're not loving what you're doing or you're not feeling like you're getting paid what you're worth. It is because that is exactly what's happening, and you're smart enough to realize it and know that we need to make a change. This is not sustainable for you if that is the kind of frustration that you're feeling. And I know, because I have been there, I have felt that frustration, and I've had to make difficult decisions about the clients I'm working with and how I can either drop some or find ones that are going to be better aligned with myself, what I'm doing, and what I need to be paid for the work that I'm doing. So number 2 thing I want to talk about is the warning signs of burnout. You may not need me to tell you this, but in case you're wondering, if you want to do a checklist about what are some of the things that, maybe you should look for if maybe this is you. Number 1, you dread getting started. Every time that you wake up in the morning and you have work to do for this client, it's like the last thing you want to do, and you put it off and you procrastinate. You do not want to even email with the client. You always feel like you're trying to just find a way not to talk with them. You don't have any fresh ideas for your work, and you have no desire to come up with any ideas. You are regularly complaining about this client to a friend and thinking how you wish that you didn't have them anymore, but you feel like you have to keep them because it's money, and how can you give up money, right? And the last thing I'll say about burnout is that you always feel like you're wasting your time. You always feel like you could be doing something better. You could be seeking out a better client, someone that will pay you more, but you don't have the time because you're wasting your time on this other client, but you're afraid. There's a lot of fear involved in a lot of this. Next thing I wanted to mention was the number 1 mistake that I see writers making when it comes to pricing their work. Pricing is probably one of the number 1 questions I get, because it can be so tricky. And every client is different, and every workload is different, and every sort of person that you're communicating with on the client side is different. And so it can be tough, and it's nerve-wracking when someone asks you on a call, well, what is your rates? It's like, what do you do? Well, I want you to think about a couple of things as you're thinking about setting rates and how you're going to charge people. And this includes, if you've been working with someone for a while and they're, you like them and they're great, but you are being severely underpaid. This often happens with our sort of the older clients, people that we started with in the beginning when we were too scared to charge anything worth anything. And then we still have them and we're like, oh, I need to charge them more, but I feel bad. First of all, you shouldn't feel bad, because this is your livelihood, this is your job, and they want to get paid as well. So there's nothing you should feel bad about. You should never feel bad about that. But I do want to say that when we're thinking about pricing, it's easy to sort of go to a round number. It's easy to say, okay, well, sure, $500 a month. But you have to remember, when you're pricing your work, that $500, say, that has to cover your insurance, has to cover your bills, it has to cover your business expenses. I mean, this is your livelihood. This is not just $500. At the end of the day, you're not actually going to get a whole lot of that $500. So that's why I would say always, if you land on a price, then go up a couple $100 at least, because that's at least going to make up for that, all of those other things I just mentioned. Number 2, people are not thinking about all the extras that go into something. It may sound easy to say, oh, you're going to write 1 blog post a week, right? Okay, sure, that doesn't sound so hard, but think about that 1 blog post. you are going to have to do the research, find the statistics. Maybe you have to interview someone. Maybe you have to find an image for it. Do you have to come up with subheads, headlines? Do you have to upload it to some kind of a back end? There are a lot of moving parts when it comes to an assignment, and you want to make sure you're accounting for your time and all the different things that it takes in order to complete that assignment. And a lot of times it seems like less, but when you dig into it, it actually is a lot more steps. And so as you are coming up with pricing, make sure you're spending a concerted amount of time thinking about all the steps, all the expectations that it's going to take for each task, because that is going to make you really think, oh yeah, like I need to charge more for this, because it's not just writing and turning it in, it's XYZ and all these other things, and that's why it costs more. And if you've thought this through, you will then be able to explain that to a potential client that maybe pushes back on the price. So that's something really important to think of when you are pricing some of your services. Now, the other thing I want to be thinking about, or the other thing that people don't think about enough, is just the big picture. How much money do you want to make in a year? How much money do you want to make in a month? If you are just willy-nilly taking on clients and not thinking about the big picture, you are not going to price accordingly so that you get to the place that you want to be. Think about how many clients you want to have and how much work you want to have. The more you charge, the less clients you have to have. Now, I'm not saying you charge unfairly, but maybe think about the kinds of services you're offering and what you're doing in order to come up with a price that works to meet your goals. Another thing I wanted to talk about was how you can persuade your clients to pay you what you're worth. And this is one way that you can do that. You know how because you show them how. You demonstrate the value of your work by showing examples of competitors that are doing this. You compile reports or analytics and showcase how the work that you are doing is contributing to their mission or to their goals. And the other thing is, think about how much it would cost for them to hire an agency to do the work that you're doing. If you don't know this, agencies are mega expensive, like so much more expensive usually than a freelancer. And so all the work that you're doing as a freelancer is going to save them a lot of money than hiring an agency, because when you hire an agency, they will charge you for every little thing, and I'm like even unfairly. And so really making that apparent and giving them some perspective in a tactful way, of course, is going to be helpful as you set the expectation for the pricing. Last thing, how do you confidently share your services and prices while staying unattached to the outcome because you know your value? That is important. When we are desperate, we're almost willing to take anything. I want to tell you that you've got to be confident in the way that you price, because otherwise you will latch on to an unhealthy client or an unhealthy relationship. Just believe that if this isn't the right client, another one will come along. And in doing so, by staying unattached, you'll be a lot more confident in the pricing that you put forward. And then if they're not able to reach that, you can walk away. And sometimes when you walk away, they will actually relent and say, okay, I'll do it. But you have to be willing to walk away. You have to be knowing your value in order to get there. And I'm not saying this is easy. Like, some of this comes with experience. Some of this comes with, spending a couple years doing it the wrong way and then switching it up, and now you're doing it the right way. I'm not perfect at this. I have had trouble with it myself. I get it, because we're out here trying to make a living. But changing your mindset on this specifically can be really helpful in the ultimate outcome of your revenue goals for the year. Also, I just want to say that you've got to remember that when someone hires you, they're not hiring you for your time. They are hiring you for your expertise, for your experience, for your maybe networking, for your knowledge. There is so much more value to what you do than the actual physical action of, say, writing a blog post or an article for them. People hire me because I have a certain skill set and a certain knowledge set and years of experience that give me insights and expertise that other people don't have. And this is one reason I rarely will accept charging by the hour, simply because the hour payment does not account for all of that other experience that you have. Now, it's very hard to quantify that, but at the end of the day, if you go into a conversation with a potential client with these things in mind, with that confidence behind you, you are going to price yourself better, and you're going to feel more confident about that and be able to have that attitude of, I'm going to walk away if this does not fit me. Last thing I wanted to say is, remember, it is cheaper for a client to hire you as a freelancer or consultant than it is for them to have a full-time paid staff member or like an agency. So working with you is a benefit to them. And so in the very beginning of those relationships, those are the moments where you can really establish like this long-term respect, this long-term like worth and value of your services. And if you end up working with someone for a long time, you want to start that relationship on a monthly income or whatever pay that is something that you can build upon. Because if you start really low, it's hard to ever get really high to the point you want, even if every year you're increasing your prices based on inflation. So think big, maybe even give a price that you know is too high so they have somewhere to come down to. That I think is key. This just happened to me. I had a new client and I priced them higher than I felt comfortable with. Like I was very uncomfortable. And I thought maybe they would take it, which would have been great. But they ended up asking me, like, are you flexible, yada, yada. But thank goodness I had put that higher price, because had I not, maybe they would have asked me to come down from the lower price. But because I had the higher price, I was able to, say yes to something that I actually felt comfortable with. So just a few tips for me. If you are feeling that frustration about low-paying clients or needing new clients, hopefully this gives you a little bit of a boost, some inspiration, some tips as you are moving forward. I want to see you be successful. So let me know if you have any other questions I can address. I would love to help you out. I know pricing can be tricky, but I'm rooting you on and wishing the best for you.